Welcome back, babes. In today's video, I will be showing you my proven framework to be able to close every single deal. And no, it has nothing to do with handling objections. No. This is about pre-handling objections. This is about making sure that these objections don't even occur, because these people you see online that has 60, 70, even 80% closing rate, those people, they're not focusing on objection. That's not why they're better than you, why they're making more money than you. No, the real reason why these people are making more money than you is because they do these things that I'm going to talk about today in this video, by the way, to be able to prevent getting objections at all. Look, in my calls, I barely get any objections. A good closer, that like 60, 70% closing rate closer, like the top closer in your company, or just like these closers you see online that says, well, I make this amount of money, 20, 30, 50,000 dollars a month. These people, their problem are not, getting objections and they're just good at that. No. What they do that you don't is they know how to make sure to not get those objections in the first place. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So if you're tired of doing everything right, spending an hour marinating these people and like really working on them, and then at the end lose them because of an objection, keep on listening and do not stop playing this video, because it will literally save you and make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right, let's get into it. And if you don't know who I am by now, my name is Yasmin. I have been in high-ticket sales for 6 years and I've been coaching since 5. Not since I was 5 years old, but 5 years. If you are interested in sales overall, learning how to get, 60, 70% closing rate and genuinely getting good at sales and psychology, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and like this video, and let's get started. Before we get started, I want to put a disclaimer of not every call should close or can close. Listen to me. There's a big popular trend going around that you're supposed to close every single deal, or you're like a sucky salesperson. That's not the reality. Sometimes you just cannot close this person because of either a mindset that they cannot overcome. It doesn't matter how many calls you go into. It doesn't matter how much you try. Sometimes people are genuinely their own obstacle. And if you try everything, do everything right, and they still don't, that person is not meant for you. And that person is not meant to start, honestly. They need to work on themselves more. The second reason, biggest reason, is when they genuinely do not have the finances. And this is where I draw the line, because I want to be able to sleep at night. You got to make sure that even if they have, $5,000 in their bank account, that's the last $5,000, and on top of that, they need to pay rent and everything, you can take them in on that. Sure, you can try to see if you can do a payment plan or some sort of credit card, but like at a certain point, you need to work in a way where you feel good and you can sleep at night. So again, not everyone is supposed to close, and you know what, that's okay. Our goal is not to try to close every single person on the call. Our goal is to ensure that the people that does want to make a change, you are not the problem. You are not the reason they become unsure and is not able to take a step into their future that they need to have, okay? So now that we've cleared that up, let's get into it. First thing we have to talk about, you and me, okay, is before you even think of closing, before you even think of objection handling, you first of all need to understand what an objection is and why you are given one. The reason you are given an objection is, there's two reasons for it, okay? Either this person has an obstacle, or it's an excuse to go away from the call. You need to understand that there's two reasons, and two reasons only you will get an objections: an obstacle and excuses. Let's talk about what obstacles there might be. We're talking about real reasons why someone potentially could not be able to join or like start your program or buy whatever you're selling. The first thing is money. I'm not talking about, ooh, that was expensive, I did not expect that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, shit, well, I don't have that money. You know, we're talking like someone being broke, like they just do not have that money. That is considered an obstacle, or it could be, right? It could be. That's why you need to work with the person. Believe it or not, not every single person is going to give you objections just because they're trying to escape the call. Sometimes it's concerns and it's worries, like, oh my God, am I going to be able to afford it? And that's why they bring it up to you, because they feel safe with you, right? The second thing is when they need to talk with a real decision maker. A real decision maker, not an imaginary partner that is not even going to pay for it. No, like a real decision maker. Like either if like it's a parent that's going to pay, or a partner that they have shared finances. Like they need to talk about stuff like that with the other person before making a big decision like this, just because it is not just their own money. In that case, you need to prepare them for exactly what they're gonna say, right? Same thing with the money. You need to try to figure out what it is. Try to figure out what that is, so that like what their financial situation is, so that you can help them in the best way. And sometimes that's qualifying them. Sometimes it is finding a way that works for them, right? The third thing is not a single hour a day to spend on this. Doesn't happen often, but few times. Like 5% of the 100% of people that says, well, time is an issue, 5% of them, it will actually be a real obstacle. They don't have a single hour, any day, like they just simply do not have the time or the like priority for this. Maybe they have a bunch of children studying and work. Like it is like they have massive responsibilities on their plate. In that case, you cannot do that much. You can try to like make them reprioritize their life, but if it is like things that are just more important at that moment, then there's not a lot of stuff you can do. The second reason someone can give you an objection, as I mentioned, it is an excuse, right? It is just an excuse to get out of the call. So let's talk about them. The first thing is need to talk with a partner. And I'm not talking about a partner with a shared economy, or even this could even be like, well, I need to talk with my sister, or like I just want to talk with my friend, or like I just want to talk with my dad or mom first, or like I just like they give me comfort. It could be partner, like boyfriend, girlfriend, like anyone that like they want the emotional support. What this means is that you didn't give them enough emotional support, so they need to find it from someone else, right? So you have to fix that. The second thing is money, again money, but it's not the money I previously mentioned. This is like, oh, this was more than I expected. Well, I need to think about it. Or like, you know, when they're like, oh, you gotta look through my budget, or like, well, this is expensive, let me just compare it to other courses. Like it's just like anything that's like, well, they think it's expensive, not a matter of they can't afford it. That is an excuse and an objection that they just give you to like get done with you and be able to leave and then think about it, or leave to never think about it again. The third thing is time and prioritization. Again, 95% of the time, it actually is about prioritization rather than I don't have a single hour a day. And that's obviously when you have to help them, guide them, and make sure that they can like help them prioritize the right goddamn things, right? You do that by urgency and like by future pain and stuff like that. And then the fourth thing is, and this is actually the real bottleneck to like the most objections you're gonna get, that's an excuse. And that's scare and fear of failure. It could be internally, it could also be externally. Like let's say they're gonna buy a program from you and like if the fear of failure could either be, I'm not gonna be able to succeed, maybe I'm different than the people that have succeeded, or I don't believe this part of the program is going to help you. I'm unsure about this one. Well, is the testimonies, like all those skepticism, like this could be multiple different, like this could manifest in different ways. But the bottom line is they're scared of failing. Therefore, they almost won't take action to save themselves of the embarrassment of failing, but not really realizing that you would fail all along. Like you still, if you don't achieve your goals, you still fail. Like at the moment you're failing. By every day that you're not achieving your goals, you're obviously failing, right? So it's like shifting their mindset of that. Like, you're already failing. So how can you be scared of failure and not take action on this when this is your dream, when you are failing every single day? That's how you handle that. Then the fifth thing is, I need to think about it, obviously. That is an excuse, not an excuse, but like a smokescreen. Like, they're trying to get rid of you so that they can think alone. This doesn't have to be that they're not interested. They just don't have enough clarity so that they can like make a decision right now, here and now. Like, it could be limiting beliefs, it could be lack of clarity, it could be multiple reasons for it. I'm gonna go over it also later in this video, why you get smoke screens like this. But like, most times it is more than fixable and it's just an excuse. Sixth and last is like, sleep on it or digest it. Same principle there. Like, an excuse to get rid of you so that they can think in peace, like to almost procrastinate on the decision in itself. Now that we know what is an obstacle and what is an excuse, so we don't get those two things mixed up, let's talk about smoke screens. Smoke screens is something that's not like a real objection, like not a real excuse even. It is almost like an excuse for the real objection that they might have, right? So even if that's still an excuse, like an excuse or shallow excuse for the real bottom excuse, if that makes sense. Like the thing they just says like immediately, like part one of the objection, right? Which is usually a surface level, not deep, not real concern at all. Let me list them to you. The first thing being, obviously, I need to think about it, talk with my partner, check finances, sleep on it, digest it, look around, do more research, talk with a competitor, like all of these things. Well, talk with a competitor can actually be a real excuse, but it's not valid either way, okay? These things are smoke screens, which means that they're not really gonna do these things. Like, they're not gonna think about it. They're not gonna, like, maybe they will talk with their partner, but the reason they would do it is not because they need to talk with their partners, for their emotional support, right? Check, fine, they're not gonna go on budget. It's more expensive than they thought, right? And they want to lessen the pressure and go away, right? To think about that. Again, not to even think about it. Sleep on it, digest the same thing. Look around, do more research. A lack of clarity, wrong expectations at this point of what they need to be feeling, sense of clarity. Like, they think they need to feel a lot more clarity than they do to get started, which is incorrect. Actually, you're not supposed to feel more clarity than you already do, because you cannot feel confident if you don't do the thing, right? So that confidence and that security and the proof comes afterwards, not before. Therefore, wrong expectations of what they're supposed to feel before getting started. So a couple things there. But let's talk about the reasons. I have been hinting on some things throughout me explaining these things, but let's talk about the reasons why you get these objections. 1, lack of trust. 2, lack of clarity. 3, lack of knowledge. 4, lack of sales skills. That's on you, Mr. or Mrs. That's on you. Sales skills, you could not pick up that this has been growing for the last 30 minutes. This objection has been freaking growing for the last 30 minutes, okay? Fear of failure, and then wrong expectations. That's it. That's like the 6 reasons why you get objections. Okay, so now that we know what objections are, what type of objections are there, and why do we get them, let's talk about how do we fix this? How do we prevent objections from occurring so we can close every deal? So the first thing you want to focus on is giving them the thing that they were lacking. So for example, if they say, well, I need to think about it, or well, sleep on it or digest it, obviously there's lack of clarity there, right? It could be multiple reasons, but if they lack the clarity, we'll give them clarity. Make the calls simple, lead them through their emotions one by one in the call. Stop talking so much and listen. Those small hints and small shifts that you do will lead to these people having more clarity, because there's a lot less fluff throughout the call and you talking about useless things. There's more clarity. also not over giving information. Like all of these things will lead to more clarity, therefore you won't get that objection as much. When we talk about lack of trust, like, oh, I need to talk with my partner, I want to look competitors, look around, do more research, all of these things are like, well, it is because of lack of trust. So how do we give trust? We connect with them more. We're more empathetic with them. We show a bit more testimonials. We we increase their level of urgency and commitment so that the trust automatically happens. We challenge them on certain beliefs that they have so that we have more authority, and they actually see that we're looking out for them and they get trust. Same thing with lack of knowledge. Like, give them specific pieces of knowledge that they would need. Accurate. No, most times it's not a lack of knowledge, it's because you've given like the wrong knowledge. And how you fix this is obviously giving the relevant knowledge, not like a bunch of fluff and we do this and we do that and you get access to all of these things also. No. Like the relevant knowledge that they need, and stop there, okay? Or else you're just going to confuse them. The other thing, lack of sales skills. Well, work on your sales skills so that you can pre-handle these objections before they even occur, and that's how you close people. Very little chance of you actually closing people after you get like a real bad smoke screen and excuse, right? And then fear of failure. Well, obviously here throughout, we need to plant the seeds throughout the call of like, well, hey, you're already failing, right? You're already failing because you're not where you want to be, and you've been wanting it for X amount of years, and you have looked around, but you've never really even taken action. Like, that's the definition of failing, not even freaking trying or giving up before you even start. Like, planting that perspective into their brain throughout the call so that this doesn't even occur. And then last thing, wrong expectations. How do we fix this? This is such an easy fix. When they mention these limiting beliefs, sometimes they're going to even hint it beforehand so you can pre-handle these limiting beliefs of, well, obviously they have unrealistic expectations of what they need to be feeling in order to take action, right? What you do is subliminally throughout the whole call kind of focus on, well, you know, you're supposed to be uncomfortable before getting started. Like, that's how you evolve. That's how you improve, by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and getting out of it comfortable, right? It's like planting that seed and those expectations. You're never going to be ready before you get started. Like, those things you have to be telling them throughout the call to like plant these seeds, set the right expectation, and change their perspective before we even get to the close. The second thing we do to actually fix these things is noticing these objections, or like forming objections or limiting beliefs, and pre-handling the objection beforehand. How you pre-handle is actually very simple. Either you give them information or a perspective or an expectation that you feel that they're lacking. For example, in terms of, well, the wrong expectation they had because they they thought they were supposed to feel ready, or the fear of failure. Like, all of these things are these things would have improved if you just throughout the call planted those seeds, pre-handled that objection. See what I mean? Same thing with like, I need to think about it. If you think that money is going to be an issue, or like the time, well, pre-handle that by subliminally kind of adding it into the call of, well, how, it's really about prioritizing the time, right? Like, it's not so much how much time you have. Or do you think that you have 1 to 2 hours a day? Like, genuinely, like, just pre-handling these objections. It is, you'll be surprised of how simple it is to pre-handle objections rather than objection handling at the end, especially after the investment and after the pitch. Like, you only have to like shift their thinking a little bit to like guide them into the right path of thinking, rather than at the end they just spiraled into the wrong thinking. Then you need to do all that work to push them back into the right road, which takes so much effort. That's why I'm saying pre-handling is so much easier than objection handling at the end of the goddamn call. The third and last thing is not about objection handling. It's actually about knowing when the prospect is unqualified. Like, that's when you know that you are good at pre-handling, is when you don't get those weird ass objections like, I need to talk with a competitor, I need to do some research, I need to look at my budget. I need to sleep on it, or suck on the caramel, or digest whatever, like all those weird. I can talk with my partner, and even though they're not the decision maker, like those things you will not get as much if you actually incorporate this. So after that, about 30 to 40% of your objections should be like money wise, and that's when you need to double down on isolating what the objection is. Is this person just disqualified, like not financially qualified? In this case, you got to double down, because some people kind of assume. I've seen this so many times when I've looked at recordings of my salespeople, when they look into call, when they're inside of a call, and then they get the objection of, I need to think about it money wise, or like this could either be I need to think about it, or yeah, it's just I need to just look at my finances, or like this is I need to, yeah, most times it's I need to think about it, and then it turns out that it's money that's the issue. 9 out of 10 times, these people don't even like look into it. Like, I am so specific. If I think that they're disqualified or like unqualified money wise, like I need to know it. I cannot guess it. And the way that you know it is by literally talking about these things so clearly and openly. You can pre-frame it by like, well, the reason I'm asking these questions, by the way, is because I really want to get to know your situation, because I don't want to assume anything. And then like, and then that will consequence in you missing this kind of opportunity that will change your life and get you out of this financial situation, right? So this is why I'm asking these questions. Like when you say it's tight with money or I can't afford it, like what do you mean by that? Just so I can see, like, is it that you have no money on the table? Like if you would invest, there would be no money on the table at all. Or are you feeling it was a little bit like I could probably afford it, but this was more than I expected. It was like a big, like it was a big sticker shock, if that makes sense. Like try to find out if they're qualified or unqualified. If they're qualified, they will say, yeah, no, I mean, I could afford it. Like I have the money, it's just more than I expected. Then you know, okay, it's not a matter of like, can they afford it? It's genuinely just, it's more expensive than they thought, and you can handle that. But if it turns out that they say, no, like I wouldn't have food on the table, like I couldn't afford it, well then obviously it's a matter of, okay, like what is it? And then even then you want to dig in more. Even though it's a matter of are they qualified or disqualified, you still want to go into it. Okay, so how much are we talking about? Like how much would you be able to invest, if not the whole amount? Like would half work? Like you want to ball with them, but if it's really not, like then you just gotta call it a day and know when you're defeated. I was gonna say you're not defeated, but know when to stop. All right, thank you so much. That's the end of this video. I hope you found it valuable. If you do, click the like button, and yeah, comment if you have any other questions, or if you enjoyed it, please let me know. And if you have any other questions you have that you would want me to make a video out of, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.